Now we come to the next Samyutta, Rahula Samyutta. Rahula was the son of the Buddha. Before the Buddha renounced, he had a son. So when Rahula was 7 years old, the Buddha asked, I think, Sariputta to ordain him. So 7 years old, he became Samanera, a novice, and after that he did not disrobe, he continued. So, of course, the Buddha probably paid some special attention to Rahula being his son. So that's why there are certain discourses connected with Rahula, where the Buddha taught Rahula some Dhamma. So the first sutta, 18.1. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. Then the Venerable Rahula approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said to him, Venerable Sir, it would be good if the Blessed One would teach me the Dhamma in brief, so that, having heard the Dhamma from the Blessed One, I might dwell alone, withdrawn, diligent, ardent and resolute. What do you think, Rahula? Is the I permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering a subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Similarly, is the ear, nose, tongue, body and mind permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering or happiness? Suffering, Venerable Sir. Is what is impermanent suffering and subject to change, fit to be regarded thus? This is mine, this I am, this is myself. No, Venerable Sir. Seeing thus, Rahula, the instructed noble disciple experiences revulsion towards the eye, revulsion towards the ear, revulsion towards the nose, revulsion towards the tongue, revulsion towards the body, revulsion towards the mind. Experiencing revulsion, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassion, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge it is liberated. He understands, destroyed his birth. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more for this state of being. That's the end of the sutta. You see this, the teaching of the Buddha here, that because the sense organs are impermanent. In other words, this that we take to be the self is impermanent. And because it is impermanent, it is a source of suffering. And because it is a source of suffering, it is not fit to regard it as I or mine. So this kind of instruction, this is the core of the essence of the Dhamma is basically this. So this kind of teaching you find in several suttas. When the Buddha taught this to several of his disciples who had already attained the fourth jhana, just listening to this, they attained liberation, became arahant. But for most of us, when we listen to this sutta, we understand a bit, but because we don't see it so clearly, because of the hindrances in us, so we don't become arahant. Actually, the point of this sutta is that this that we take to be the self, our body and our mind, is impermanent. And this impermanence, because we don't contemplate much on it, we don't think. But if we think, actually, that one day this body will grow old, will become ugly, will die, become sick and die. So if it's going to die one day, why you cling on to it? You cling on to it, it'll give you suffering. That's enough. So the faster we let go of it, the faster we don't suffer so much. Later you see in one of the suttas, the Buddha says, contemplation of this impermanence is very important. If we keep contemplating impermanence, then we'll see the real nature of the world and the real nature of our body and mind. 18.21 at Savatthi. Then the Venerable Rahula approached the Blessed One, paid homage to him and sat down to one side and said, this is one of the suttas that are repeated. It is also found in the Anguttara Nikaya 3.32 and also in the Samyutta Nikaya in another place, Sutta 22.71 and 22.76. Venerable Sir, how should one know, how should one see, so that in regard to this body with consciousness and in regard to all external signs, I-making, mind-making and the underlying tendency to conceit no longer occurs within? Stop here for a moment. So here Venerable Rahula is asking the Buddha, how should we contemplate so that we can get rid of this conceit, this tendency to think that I am, I exist. Once you have the I, then you have the mind, my family, my relations and all that. So this if you can really see clearly this, then you can attain liberation. Then the Buddha said, any kind of form whatsoever, Rahula, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, one sees all forms as it really is with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. Similarly, any kind of feeling whatsoever, any kind of perception, any kind of volition, any kind of consciousness whatsoever, whether past, future or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, one sees all of these aggregates as it really is with correct wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one knows and sees thus, Rahula, then in regard to this body with consciousness and in regard to all external signs, I-making, mind-making and the underlying tendency to conceit no longer occurs within. That's the end of the sutta. So this sutta is concerned with the 5 aggregates. That's why this sutta is repeated in the Samyutta about the 5 aggregates. So the Buddha is saying that these 5 aggregates are basically the body and the mind. We should see clearly that they are impermanent. Because they are impermanent, they are a source of suffering. And because they are a source of suffering, we should not take it to be I or mine. So for this Rahula Samyutta, I am only reading these 2 suttas. Now we come to Samyutta number 19. Lakkhana Samyutta. Lakkhana is a monk. His discourses concern questions that he asked. 19.1. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Rajagaha in the bamboo grove, the squirrel sanctuary. On that occasion, the Venerable Lakkhana and the Venerable Mahamoggallana were dwelling on Mount Vulture Peak. Then in the morning, the Venerable Mahamoggallana dressed, and taking bowl and robe, he approached the Venerable Lakkhana and said to him, "Come, friend Lakkhana, let us enter Rajagaha for alms." So they wanted to go on Pindabat, alms round. "All right, friend," the Venerable Lakkhana replied. Then as he was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, the Venerable Mahamoggallana displayed a smile in a certain place. The Venerable Lakkhana said to him, "For what reason, friend Moggallana, did you display a smile?" "This is not the time for that question, friend Lakkhana. Ask me that question when we are in the presence of the Blessed One." Stop here for a moment. So the 2 monks, they were walking down the hill to go on alms round very early in the morning. Then Venerable Mahamoggallana, because he got psychic power, he saw some spirit. And then when he contemplated the spirit, usually it was a ghost. Then he smiled. And then Venerable Lakkhana asked him, because Venerable Lakkhana probably didn't have the psychic power to see. So Venerable Lakkhana asked him, "Why did you smile?" He said, "Wait until later, you ask me in front of the Buddha." Then when the Venerable Lakkhana and the Venerable Mahamoggallana had walked for alms in Rajagaha and returned from their alms round, after their meal they approached the Blessed One. Having paid homage to the Blessed One, they sat down to one side, and the Venerable Lakkhana said to the Venerable Mahamoggallana, "Here, as he was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, the Venerable Mahamoggallana displayed a smile in a certain place. For what reason, friend Moggallana, did you display that smile? And Venerable Moggallana said, Dear friend, as I was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, I saw a skeleton moving through the air. Vultures, crows and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, were pecking at it between the ribs, stabbing it and tearing it apart, while it uttered cries of pain. It occurred to me, it is wonderful indeed, it is amazing indeed, that there could be such a being, that there could be such a spirit, that there could be such a form of individual existence. Then the Blessed One addressed the monks thus, Monks, there are disciples who dwell having become vision, having become knowledge, in that a disciple can know, see and witness such a sight. In the past, monks, I too saw that being, but I did not speak about it. For if I had spoken about it, others would not have believed me, and if they had not believed me, that would have led to their harm and suffering for a long time. That being, monks, used to be a cattle butcher in this same Rajagaha, having been tormented in hell for many years, for many hundreds of years, for many thousands of years, for many hundreds of thousands of years, as a result of that karma. As a residual result of that same karma, he is experiencing such a form of individual existence. It's the end of the sutta. So here, Venerable Moggallana saw a ghost with a skeleton body flying through the air, and these vultures and crows and hawks were chasing it and pecking at it, and he was crying and flying and crying and flying and crying. So the Buddha said he used to be a cattle butcher. He used to slaughter cows. So after that he went to hell for a long time, and after coming out of hell, he's still suffering as a ghost. Then all the other suttas in this Samyutta follow the same pattern. And only thing is the different things that Venerable Moggallana saw. So the second sutta, he said, after being asked, he said, Dear friend, as I was coming down from Mount Vulture Peak, I saw a piece of meat moving through the air. Vultures, crows and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, were stabbing at it and tearing it apart as it uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being, monks, was a cattle butcher in this same Rajagaha. So this second one, he was also a cattle butcher, but instead of being a ghost with a skeleton, he was a ghost full of meat. Maybe the first guy was always cutting the meat off the skeleton, so he was always thinking of the skeleton, so he was born as a skeleton. This one was always chopping the meat. And the third sutta also saw a lump of meat. And the Buddha said, that being was a poultry butcher in this same Rajagaha. He used to slaughter chickens. The fourth one, I saw a flayed man. The flayed man means a ghost with all the skin removed. That being was a sheep butcher in the same Rajagaha. The fifth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of swords moving through the air. Those swords kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a hawk butcher in the same Rajagaha. He used to slaughter pigs. The sixth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of spears moving through the air. Those spears kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a deer hunter in this same Rajagaha. The seventh sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of arrows moving through the air. Those arrows kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a torturer in this same Rajagaha. That means he worked for the king. So when any criminal was to be tortured, he used to torture people. So now he is in pain. The eighth sutta, I saw a man with body hairs of needles moving through the air. Those needles kept on rising up and striking his body while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a horse trainer in the same Rajagaha. You see, when they train horses, they have to beat the horses, they have to poke the horses, So make the horses suffer to discipline the horse. Make the horse got to do what the trainer wants him to do. And usually a new horse is very stubborn, so they have to poke and all that. The 9th sutta. I saw a man with body hairs of needles moving through the air. Those needles entered his head and came out from his mouth. They entered his mouth and came out from his chest. They entered his chest and came out from his belly. They entered his belly and came out from his thighs. They entered his thighs and came out from his calves. They entered his calves and came out from his feet, while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a slanderer in the same Rajagaha. Amazing, because see how much person who slanders other people, talk bad about other people, and then you create a lot of harm to that person. Even for monks, sometimes some lay people, they don't like a particular monk. They will talk bad about that monk, and then it goes around, and then so it does a lot of harm to his reputation. So this person, he was this type of person. So if you slander a virtuous person, then the karma vipaka, the result is much worse. So in this case, I don't know how many people he slandered. So he is born like that. Then the 10th sutta. I saw a man whose testicles were like pots moving through the air. When he walked, he had to lift his testicles onto his shoulders, and when he sat down, he sat on top of his testicles. Vultures, crows, and hawks, following him in hot pursuit, were stabbing at him and tearing him apart while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was a corrupt magistrate in the same Rajagaha. So you see, this corrupt magistrate, he does a lot of shameful things, which he doesn't want people to know, doesn't want people to see. But when he's born as a ghost, then what is shameful is exposed. The 11th sutta. I saw a man with head submerged in a pit of dung. And the Buddha said, that being was an adulterer in the same Rajagaha. You see, when a person commits adultery, he dirties the body. So here the result is living in a shithole, full of shit. The 12th sutta. I saw a man submerged in a pit of dung, eating dung with both hands. And the Buddha said, that being, monks, was a hostile Brahmin in the same Rajagaha. In the time of the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation, he invited the bhikkhu Sangha to a meal. Having had rice pots filled with dung, he said to the monks, Sirs, eat as much as you want from this and take away the rest with you. So here, this hostile Brahmin, he didn't like the Buddha and the monks. So he knew that if you invite them to a house for a meal, they will come for a meal. So he had all the shit put in the pots. So when the monks came, invited them to eat shit. So he thought it was a big joke, but now his joke backfired. So he's eating shit for a long time. 13th sutta. I saw a flayed woman moving through the air. Vultures, crows, and hawks, following her in hot pursuit, were stabbing at her and tearing her apart while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was an adulteress in this same Rajagaha. So this woman, having committed adultery, maybe did it often and with a lot of men. So she was born as this ghost with all the skin removed, no skin. So when the birds attacked her, she was in great pain. 19.14. I saw a woman, foul smelling and ugly, moving through the air. Vultures, crows, and hawks, following her in hot pursuit, were stabbing at her and tearing her apart while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was a fortune teller in the same Rajagaha. You see, fortune tellers, usually to make money, they will lie and cheat people. So she was born as a ugly and bad smelling ghost. 15. I saw a woman, her body roasting, sweltering, sooty, moving through the air, while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that woman was the chief queen of the king of Kalinga, of a jealous character, she poured a brazier of coals over one of the king's consorts. So this formerly, this chief queen, she was jealous of another wife. So this red hot coal, she poured over the other woman. So now she's born as a ghost, the body roasted, burnt in pain. 19.16. I saw a headless trunk moving through the air. Its eyes and mouth were on its chest. Vultures, crows and hawks, following it in hot pursuit, was dabbing at it and tearing it apart while it utters cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that being was an executioner named Harika in this same Rajagaha. So this executioner, he used to chop off people's head. So now he's born as a ghost without a head. But he still has eyes and his mouth on his chest. Sometimes people see ghosts also without the head. They executed. 19.17. I saw a monk moving through the air. His outer robe, bowl, waistband and body were burning, blazing and flaming while he uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that monk had been an evil monk in the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation. And then 18. I saw a nun moving through the air. Her outer robe, bowl, waistband and body were burning, blazing and flaming while she uttered cries of pain. And the Buddha said, that nun had been an evil nun in the Buddha Kassapa's dispensation. So these last two refers to monks and nuns. Monks and nuns who they wear the robe, but they don't behave like a monk, and they are corrupt, full of evil desires and all that. When they pass away, they have to suffer for a long time to pay up their credit card. I think I'll stop here. We went through a lot of suttas today. I think I discussed. It's one of the reasons. People always like to find a shortcut. Just like some people say, you recite the name of the Buddha, you can be reborn in heaven. But whereas the Buddha says, you have to behave like a heavenly being, then only you can be reborn in the heaven. Not just recite the name. It's always the case. People always like to find a shortcut. Easy way out. You see, like we learn the Dhamma. In Chinese we say 学佛 we follow the Buddha's footsteps. That is the proper way. But a lot of people, they think they come to Buddhism to pray to pray. Pray to the Buddha for help. Pray to the Buddha to fulfill their wishes. That is not what Buddhism is about. Buddhism is a do-it-yourself religion where we have to do everything ourselves. So because of that, a lot of people, they are lazy. They are not. They don't want to put the effort, so they try to find an easy way out. Pray to Kuan Yin and all that.
Sometimes for a month, because the lay disciple, when we say the lay disciple is one, it's also the cause of it, because your monk is famous. Most people will want to get associated with the monk, there was a lot of offering, try to gain favor.
Yes. The lay people are greedy for merit, so they like to make offerings to famous monks. Because if the monk has got some wisdom, he knows some certain things are not good for him, he should not accept. And he should not go around behaving like a movie queen, movie king, a superstar, and all that. So a monk should know how to behave as a monk, not like some monks nowadays. They go around with a TV crew following them everywhere. 688.
The only son and the only daughter. You can take this emphasis on what are the quality of the householder, chitta and hataka, and also the
These Chitta and Hataka, they are Anagamin disciples of the Buddha. Anagamin disciples. And they are very exemplary in that they can be very good in their meditation and they are strong supporters of the Sangha. Monks come to the house and on arms round and they support the Sangha. And yet they are very humble. Even though they are Anagamins, have attained third fruit of the Aryan stage, yet they are not proud. Even ordinary monk comes to the house, they will pay respect because they pay respect to the Sangha, not to the individual. And like this Chitta and Hataka, because they are so knowledgeable in the Dhamma, whenever they have a group of monks, they invite a group of monks for dana, they will ask Dhamma questions of the monks, And if the monks don't know how to teach Dhamma, they will teach Dhamma to the monk. They are so good. So among the lay people, they are the cream. So whereas this Kujuttara and Velukandakya, what we know is they are also Anagamins. But about them, there is not much spoken of in the suttas. Whereas in the suttas, there are more about this Chitta and Hataka. So probably they are in the same standard. Yeah, so like this lay woman, I think this Velukandakya, or maybe both of them, they are psychic. They have psychic powers. So like one night, there's one sutta where this Velukandakya, Nandamata, in the night, she was doing some chanting. Then the Yakka king flew by and then heard her chanting and then descended and spoke to her like her chanting. And then also this Devaraja, Yakka Devaraja told her in a few hours time, remember Sariputta and I think Moggallana and a few Arahant monks, they are coming here. You please do offer food to them and you say it is in my name that means he wants the merit so this lady said, and I will make the offerings on your behalf So the next morning when the monks came, she sent somebody to go and invite them to her house for a meal, and then they were surprised. How do you know? You never informed anybody that we came. How do you know that we came? And she said, this Devaraja told me, and so also told me to make this offering on his behalf. So you see, Devas also want merit. So up to you. How, if you are more familiar with the suttas, then you would know more precisely what the Buddha is trying to say. Yeah.
People during that time behave like what we are.
But during the Buddha's time, it was not so bad. Like here now, the Buddha says, when he sees gains and fame, he's talking about the monk who goes to on alms round, he gets a lot of food, becomes very proud. But nowadays, the gains that the monks get is so many more times more than during the Buddha's time. They drive around in Mercedes, they buy shares, they have property. All this is horrible compared to the Buddha's time. Okay, shall we transfer merit?